Orlando Matters on a Saturday morning. Great to have you along. And if you're a business person or just love talking about business and marketing, this is the show for you today. Once again, we have Dr. Amit Joshi. He's with the marketing department there at UCF, the business department. Always good to see you. Appreciate you being here. Okay, we talked a lot about big data, a number of other things. Let's talk about social media and marketing because there's a big push right now, especially with Twitter. Make sure you're tweeting everything out these days. Let's start with the basics. Does marketing on social media really work?
That's an excellent question. It's the answer is not as straightforward as you would think. Well, the big picture answer is yes. Social media works. If you drill a little deeper, you'll actually find that social media is super effective. I mean, you could claim that social media is about twice as effective right now as any other marketing media.
Really?
It is. I mean, which is quite a claim if you really think about it. I mean, when you think about price or selling or even traditional media advertising, it turns out that in general, social media seems to be twice as effective.
Let me pause you there very quickly. So twice as effective. Is that because you're getting a tweet from somebody you know, so you trust them? Is that what that is?
Great point. I mean, there's two reasons why. Trust and independence. You typically trust the people you're receiving information from on social media, and you assume that they're independent. As a matter of fact, independence is more important than trust.
Because I'm not getting paid by Disney to tweet for them, but I tweet something out saying I like it.
Exactly.
Don't believe that. Okay.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And which is why even within social media, and we always refer to this as social media, when in fact the social media term is a phenomenon. It's not a media. It's not like television. There's so many separate different avenues within social media, like you mentioned, Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and Snapchat and God, it's a never-ending list. So how would you actually know which one works better, which one works more? Because they don't all work the same, right? So here's a simple way of thinking about it. Just go back to trust and independence, right? When you think about something like Facebook or LinkedIn, you're typically connected with a person in a two-way manner. You invite someone, they accept. It is not a randomized connection. You're typically at least acquainted with the person at the other end, so if that person sends you some information, you definitely trust it because they're a part of your circle. And again, you assume there's independence. Blogs, microblogs like Twitter are one level below because I could be subscribing to Michael Jordan's Twitter feed and Michael Jordan doesn't know me, obviously, right? But I know what Michael Jordan is, I know what he stands for, I know he's probably a spokesperson for Nike, so I can discount that a little bit, but that's the lowest end of the spectrum within social media is anonymous reviews because I don't know who they are.
I'm glad you said that. We were just on vacation last weekend and we saw reviews for hotels and my first thought was this could be somebody working the front desk saying this place is great, right? And that's what you're talking about.
That's exactly, and that's where what my research has shown is what you need to look at is what I like to call stars and stripes. And here's what I mean by that. So anytime you look at a Yelp review, the first thing that catches your attention is the number of stars a place has. Okay, when you're reviewing a hotel on hotels.com or Expedia, wherever it is, the first thing that catches your eye is this hotel has a 4.5-star review from customers, some other hotel has 4-star reviews from customers. What we find in our research is that you need to go below that and also look at what I like to call the number of stripes, which is how many stripes you have, which is how many people are reviewing you. Imagine for a moment you've got 4.5 stars, but there's only 2 people reviewing you. You've got 4 stars, something else has 4 stars, but there's 2,000 people reviewing you. Which one are you more likely to believe?
Yeah, because the numbers will pan out. Exactly. Because one more review that's negative on that first one, and you're down to 2 stars.
Exactly. Right? Plus, that's one thing. Plus, the other thing is, how do you know? Those 2 people reviewing could be, the wife and the daughter of the owner.
Yeah.
Right? But if there's 2,000 people, there's a vast spectrum of people, probably like you, who've gone ahead, taken the pain to review this place. So you're getting both persuasion and you're getting awareness. You're getting a combination of those two. So stars and stripes, in this case, seem to work together to kind of impact.
It's also interesting because we were looking at a lot of reviews, and the ones that I seemed to trust the most were the ones that had the most reviews, of course. But when the owner or manager responded to those comments, that also meant a lot. I said, well, at least this person's paying attention. Does that matter in your research?
Big time. So
if you're a business owner, you need to respond.
The worst thing on social media is a negative review that goes unresponded. Okay, that is the worst thing on social media because we find that a negative review is more powerful than an equivalent positive review. A negative review will really hurt your sales unless you have taken the trouble to, within a timely manner, respond to that review. In which case, a negative review with a response is actually better than a positive review.
Really?
That's exactly right.
Well, because as you're talking about this, I remember the one woman. It was a woman who responded. She owned a bed and breakfast up in Savannah. She said, I'm so sorry you had that experience. What can I do to fix it? And that's the only thing, of all the reviews, that's the only thing I remember is that she took the time to respond.
Exactly.
It's powerful.
It's very powerful. Very powerful.
Let's also talk about all of these social medias. We had one of our friends, Chris DeMarco, PGA Tour golfer. Last time he was in on the show, said the only thing advertisers are looking for right now is how many Twitter followers do you have? But then you take a closer look at many of the Twitter followers, they're not legit. So advertisers are saying, wait, you have 1.2 million followers, that's great, and then you find out 80% are fake.
Right.
How do you rectify this?
And this goes to something that within marketing and research is known as ego metrics, right? Number of Facebook likes, number of Twitter followers, or number of people who subscribe to my blog. I mean, what does that really mean? I mean, how many of them have just subscribed one time 3 years ago and have never gone back, right? How many of them are fake followers, like you say? You have to be very careful when looking at social media analytics not to fall for these ego metrics, nice as they might seem. They're not very meaningful in terms of decision making or in terms of predicting what's going to happen to your business or to your sales. So you have to drill deeper into that. You've got to look at a lot more nuanced metrics, a lot more nuanced data, big data if you will, rather than just how many followers I have or how many likes does my page get.
If you were starting a business and you were going to do some social media marketing, and we're talking social media, the ones you mentioned, what would you go with first? Is there one that stands out?
There'll be two. Well, right now the one that seems to work the best at 2 or 3 years is Instagram and Pinterest. They're huge right now. I would definitely be on there. My general advice to people would be on a few media. Don't restrict yourself to one because each media, A, has a different audience to it. And B, each media gives you something different, right? YouTube is obviously more video. Instagram is more visual. Pinterest is more, like a pin-up site kind of a thing, right? Facebook is obviously very well connected. So each one gives you a little piece of the puzzle.
But it's interesting you mentioned Instagram above Facebook. Why is that?
Right now, the trend seems to be moving towards Instagram. Facebook has ceased to be seen as quote-unquote cool by the younger audience. They seem to be gravitating towards Instagram. Even as we speak, they might be gravitating towards Snapchat.
Who knows?
Right?
Let's talk next week and see what's
That's exactly right.
Hey, before we let you go, we got about a minute and a half, and I don't know if we'll be able to boil it down, but I was intrigued by your research with the movie industry. What did you do when you were out at UCLA? What did you find?
So there's a couple of streams of research. One is again related to advertising and stock price, which is that if you advertise a movie before its launch and you kind of overhype it, it might actually hurt the stock price of your movie because you see a ton of advertisement for a movie that's coming out on Friday, Thursday evening you see a boatload of advertising, stock market thinks it's going to be a huge hit. It makes only 50 million bucks, for example. They were expecting 70. Monday morning, stock price open, your stock crashes. We've actually documented that. The other thing that I do is, and that's something that really fascinates me right now, is the conversion of books to movies. You see a lot of these Divergent series and Harry Potter and a lot of the Rings and pretty much every book, 50 Shades obviously, every book, decent book has been converted to a movie.
30 seconds.
The catch is not every book can be converted to a movie. People typically love reading a book more than watching a movie, so you have to be super careful.
All right, where can they read more about that? Is just search your name? Is that the best way to go about it?
The best way to go.
All right, again, Dr. Amit Joshi, good to see you. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, never enough time for our great guest. We'll be right back to wrap up the show.